And we are live for another biddle after I silence my phone.
Oh, that's the point. Yeah, where's mine? Because there's nothing worse, is there, than...
I seem to always forget. It's always like an afterthought. No matter what I do, whether it's a podcast or not, it's always like an afterthought to silence it. You would think by now that you would,
the number that we've done, you'd have thought. Yeah.
Yep.
Just proves we're human.
It's all good.
You get distracted by everything else, I think, and you forget that the phone's sitting there to your side. That's what it is.
Lamer.
How you going, Lamer?
He was here and then he's gone again. Unless he's just on show non-video participants. There
Heather?
we go.
Getting set up.
You didn't distro hop, did you?
I'm actually on elementary now.
Elementary.
Nice. What?
Yeah.
Loki?
Yep, Loki.
Nice. Dolphin.
Hey, Toss. Hey, Dolphin.
Hiya.
Toss. What's happening?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Fine, how are you?
Not sure we heard Dolphin, though.
It's good to be here.
And we can't say Dolphin distro hopped either, so because I know he didn't. Did you, Dolphin?
That's it. He's gone. He's got the
That's
salt
it.
out.
That's it. He's getting up. He's out of here.
He spat the dummy.
Vega, Heather, is the sound good for everything? Everybody's coming through good?
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Vega Man. And Barbara. Hiya.
Barbara?
Hi, Bob.
Hello. How do I sound? Do I sound okay?
Yep.
Sound fine, yeah.
Good. Okay. Now let me get my view correct. Whoops, that's not what I wanted.
So I just
Nice.
No better.
Thank you, James.
So just a bit of a topic there, Rocco. I installed Ubuntu Mate, downloaded the beta 2, and when I do the panel change to Unity, I lose the whole top bar, and so I log out or I restart, and then the top bar's there, but the applets are all doubled up. So
Weird.
yeah, I know, and I've tried this on two different devices and same behaviour. But I found that if you select traditional and then go back to the one that you want, everything seems to be fine. So it must be a beta 2 thing, I think. But I haven't heard anyone talking about any problems with Mate. Everyone's having a great time with it.
Yeah,
So-
as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems.
No, I don't know what's going on there. Must be just something that's come up in the beta 2, maybe. I don't know.
The thing is, excuse me, when you wholesale change the way your desktop looks, there's so much clever trickery going on in the background.
Absolutely.
Is it any wonder that every now and again the machine goes, sorry about that, you're going to have double icons? There's so much clever stuff going on. It's a wonder it works in the first place.
Well, it was fine on the original beta. I'm pretty sure 17.10 was working great. Although I had to go occasionally, like you say, when you muck around with it too much. Then I was using the network panel layout, and then go back to something else. But the network wasn't working, so I've tried the traditional. Now that's working. Everything loads up fine from there. But I haven't heard anyone talk about it, so I just think maybe it's the two devices I've tried. I don't know. That's really weird.
Which bug are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Ubuntu Mate 1804 beta 2.
What's wrong with it?
Just when I load it up, I install it, I do all the updates and everything, and then I change to the Unity, the Mutiny desktop layout. It loses the top panel, and then upon restart, all the applets have doubled up that are on the top.
Oh. See, because I know we've had bug reports about one of the applets doubling up, and that's something on Xubuntu and Lubuntu so far that we've confirmed. But if so you're saying only if you switch to that Unity layout you just lose the top panel, right?
I lose it at first, and then I restart, and then it's back. But the applets are doubled up.
So you said did this work fine in the beta?
Yeah, the first beta, I'm pretty sure I didn't have that problem. I'm pretty sure. I can't
Maybe a
in
new
the beta?
special effects feature in mod. No, I don't know. But,
I switched around one day just to play with it, and I didn't have that. I even said, "Oh, gee, let me take a look at Mutiny," and the fact that it kind of went back to some default settings, unless of my panel and stuff, unless I went in and loaded that one back up, I didn't have it do any of that.
Which one are you running, Bob?
Well, on one it's beta 2, and the other one it's just the beta 1.
So you haven't had that problem with beta 2 then? That's really strange.
Because I was playing around with them.
Okay.
My problem with the panels is I get them exactly how I want to look, and I think, oh, I'll try something else. And just as I click, I go, oh, I didn't save it.
And then you have to,
You then have to redo the whole thing again, which is not good.
Must be just a beta thing. Well, hopefully.
So, but you said it's no longer it's an issue in the beta 2, not the beta 1.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think the beta 1 had that problem.
Okay, because if anything, that almost sounds like the default settings package-ish. Do you have any specific dates? Do you remember offhand of when that is? Because I can go and look back in the change logs of things.
Well, I downloaded that yesterday, I think. I downloaded it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And
from the Beta 2 site or from the Beta 2 Nightly?
No, from the Beta 2 site. So I went to ubuntumate.org or whatever it is. And downloaded the official beta 2 from there, where they've got the 1604, 1710 beta and the beta 2 1804. So downloaded it from the official site. So
did you download it and then do a complete system update?
I always do complete system update before I touch anything. So
good.
Okay.
That's a habit I've always got into.
Post it in the forum. Someone will figure it out eventually.
Yeah, maybe I should do that.
No, but I'm just thinking that's sort of weird. I don't know. In fact, I can look at the changelog real quick for the Ubuntu Mate default settings and see if he named the package that way.
I just grabbed my old MacBook, which has the beta 2 on it. So let me see. I'll play around with it while we're talking.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
It doesn't matter. It's a tester anyway.
If anything, though, I can report a bug right now, and we can we can get this solved, because even if it's a good UX regression. If anything,
come on, move.
Martin, what sort of things have changed since then?
It's going to get to the stage where poor Simon doesn't come on here, because all he does is go away and do bugs for us. Because when Dusk Geeks comes on, he's going to ask you about Pulse. Have you fixed it yet?
Well, speaking of Dusk Geek, Derek.
Hey, what's up?
Derek, I seen the rap response video come out. What do you think? Are you running in shame now, or?
No, I'm getting something together for him.
Are you?
I didn't want to rush into it. I want to spend a few days, really think on it. I don't know if I want to do another rap or not, but we have to have some kind of contest, I guess.
Response, yeah,
definitely got to have some type of response.
Because I'm pretty sure round 1 I won the rap contest. So.
Well, based on last night, you would have lost.
By the way, so about the whole, I come on here and I'm just being nagged. Next week I actually won't be here regardless, and it's not me skipping, because I'm going to be at Linux Fest Northwest next weekend. So,
nice.
So
that's a good excuse.
Yeah, but I'm skipping all this. I'm going to go hang out with. I know for a fact System 76 folks are going to be there. Couple different people from a couple different groups. So
I would skip the show for that myself.
I don't understand why do you got to skip the show? Like, you got mobile? I mean,
so let me think about this here, because it'll be 7:30 p.m. that time. I think at that point
6:30 here.
Well,
in the Midwest, in the Midwest, and 7:30 there by like Toss and Rockwell.
Well, right now it's 9:30 for me. So I know that
for me.
Oh, You said north.
Well, 9:40 for me, but the show starts at 9:30.
Oh, northwest. I'm sorry, they're 2 hours behind us. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be 7:30 ish, and at that point, I'll probably be having dinner, something like that.
And
so
socializing.
We're less important than dinner. I mean, like
it's dinner. You don't need to eat.
The
Chris Fisher films when he's got a mouthful all the time. So why can't you?
I don't get it.
And that, you know what? That's okay. You skip, but you owe us a full report when you come back next week.
Okay. All right.
That's right.
Give us the lowdown on what was good and what was bad. If there was bad. I mean, I've never been to one of these things, so.
I would love to go to one of those.
Either.
I'd love to.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta all go to Southeast. We really should.
Yeah, I'm going to Self as well. So.
Okay, well, Ryan and Michael are going to that as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so we gotta have a Big Daddy Linux. We gotta have a live stream from Self.
I totally agree. We got to do that. We got to have. We even do a Destination Linux live podcast or something.
Yep. Can you hear me?
So you're coming to Self?
No, I wish I was, but Ryan and Michael are.
Where's Ryan today? Is Ryan not here today? He's making his fake box to fit his phone in. He's
I love it.
Didn't lose my panel.
He's probably still trying to get Gentoo installed.
Okay, I don't
know if you can see that, but I didn't lose my top panel.
No, okay.
Now, did you make sure? What I found is you've got to make sure after you install the doesn't matter beta 1, beta 2, and you run the updates, you boot it again, and that might be why I don't have that kind of a problem.
No, I always boot after updates as well. I reboot.
Okay.
So,
now let me see what happens if I go back to my other.
I don't know.
Well, we'll find out.
That's just really strange. I don't know what's going on there, but then again, it just comes back to the device, like we talk about, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And the old MacBook is picky. It gets cranky.
Right.
But don't you find that's the case sometimes, that you'll install a distribution that you want to use, and everything appears to go perfectly, and then it runs like a dog. So you go, okay, let's start again, and you do exactly the same procedure, and it runs sweet as a nut.
Okay, the only thing that happened is I lost in switching back, I lost my dock that was over here.
Right.
Yeah, that's what.
Which I had, which is no biggie because I just can call it plank.
See, I downloaded Markulu Linux, the Windows and the Shift. Now I wanted to do the Shift because it's based directly off Debian, and I'd rather have something based directly off one base, which is better. But the Shift and the Windows both, after you update and restart, it's got no X window, so you can't even log in. So I don't know.
And yet they work fine on here.
Yeah, so I'm going to try it on another computer and see if that works, because they both did it. It just came up with a thing saying X didn't start, blah, 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 some error or whatever, and then I couldn't come up with the login box, put in your password, bang, it just comes back with the login box again. So I don't know. One's based on Ubuntu, one's based on Debian, so they're both doing the same thing.
Barb, your solution is just give it a CAT scan. You got 2 of them always walking around there.
At least 2. And what you don't see is that the dog is usually on my meditation cushion in the corner.
Can you guys hear me?
We can, Tom. What's going on?
All right, not a whole lot. Just making sure you can hear me. I got to jump out here in like 40 minutes to go. I'm doing some pizza, so I just got to do the next phase then. But
nice.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Michael
and you're not even going to share?
Oh, well, if anyone wants to show up, I'll be glad to share. I am definitely making more than I need to eat myself, and unfortunately, I will probably eat it on myself because, according to co-host, I make the best pizza in the world.
Just make virtual pizza. We'll still share.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
There's Michael.
Just put down a peace emoji.
Good evening, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Good evening.
He's at his usual time, eh?
Hey,
yeah,
but he's
right
not
on
2
time.
hours late.
Right on time.
I didn't show up twice the last week or the week before, so this is incredibly early.
This is a bonus.
We missed you.
Yes, we did miss you, Michael. Our technical standpoint on Big Daddy Linux.
That's right.
No, this week I'm bringing back the shallowness.
All right, let's get it out of the way right now.
What?
This week.
Michael?
Hi.
Go ahead.
Digital.com/Amazon.
Yep.
There you go.
I don't know. I never do that.
Michael has updated his website, tuxdigital.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you go to tuxdigital.com.
Go check it out.
This is actually the first time where if I plugged myself, it would be legitimate because there's something to go to.
So that's out of the way.
Well, yeah, for this current 15-minute time frame.
Right. This current period.
There's his
now we got
at
least 14 minutes and 35 seconds to talk about Linux.
No, actually, I did check it out, and I like the way it works. It appears to be very, very simple. I realize there's a lot of stuff you don't see, but you didn't try to do all this whiz-bang stuff to impress people, and then there's really no there. You know what I mean?
Right. There's fanciness, but it's
you don't
not.
See it.
It's not fancy instead of functional. It's a combination of both.
Yeah. So I really liked the way it worked. It was very easy to find everything, and it just worked.
I looked yesterday at the worst website I think that is in history of the world right now. It is Nest's new project to distribute Nest thermostats to poor people. It is the worst website I have ever seen in my life.
You didn't see my website, did you?
Oh, I'm looking at it right now, actually.
Okay.
I'm looking at Tux Digital. I'm sorry. No, let me see yours. What's yours?
BigDaddyLinux.com.
BigDaddyLinux.com. All right.
Come on.
Websites, though, I find are one of those things that you've either got a knack for making them look good, or they just look like a template.
Oh, this looks. You're right.
Yours is
bad.
It's fine. I mean,
say it how it is, Barbara.
No, I'm over on. I went to
the next one.
No, I'm looking at the Nest. Nest.com.
Isn't the most? No. I'm not talking about Nest.com. Nest.com is fine. They're doing. I covered it in my news channel yesterday. Let me see if I can.
No, this is /thermostats.
The one I'm actually. Let's see. Where was it at?
Drop a link in the Big Daddy chat so we can all go and have a look and rip it to pieces.
Let me find the one. Let me find the one I'm talking about. Let me find the one I'm talking about.
You've given it a bad rep. We might as well ruin it completely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I found it. Okay, where do I put the chat in here?
Well, I'm not giving you guys my website.
I'll say.
Yeah, I know.
Bunch of critics here.
I dropped that in the chat. This is like the worst website I think I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
PZ.
And I'm just going to tell you,
your peppermint logo's not visible. Your mic's blocking it.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I have to bring it down lower somehow, but then you won't hear me. So
1 in 5 families spend 20% plus of their income on energy.
Yeah. Okay.
And the center thingy changes color like a gaming
and then
PC.
Now scroll through the site. Try and go somewhere on this site.
Ah!
Is that the most ADD stuff you've ever seen in your life?
I'm trying to scroll down, and all of a sudden it shifts left.
I know.
This is the stuff I can't stand, and that was what I was trying to explain.
What clever stuff.
Yeah, because you know something, you're trying to sell a product. You're not trying to win an award in artistic endeavor.
This is okay. It's just different.
No, it's just you don't feel like I'm scrolling down.
It's different. But it's not okay.
There's no
exactly.
There's a way to do this properly that's not bad. Like there are some websites that have a side scroll that are not bad.
Oh yeah,
it's
I know that.
Both that makes it awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
because
if they had links across the top to different pages or whatever where you could see it and go to something really quick. If
I don't think
roll all this, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. I clicked the link, it didn't work.
So anyway, back to Linux.
I was going to say,
anyway, that's really annoying.
Somewhere.
That's
Derek.
the type that I was talking about that drive me crazy. Okay.
Derek, what's the latest video you did?
Well, I was trying to stream from Arch Linux yesterday, and it was a complete fail.
What happened?
Other than that, I just couldn't get OBS to work correctly. I played around with the settings, and I was having stuttering issues, and just I don't know.
I was trying to watch it last night, but I ran out of Tylenol. I had to stop watching.
It was bad. It was so bad, and I spent so much time trying to get OBS to work correctly in Arch, even though it worked correctly on every other distro I've ever tried. that 2 hours ago I went ahead and wiped Arch off this machine.
Wow.
But you know something, Derek, the other thing, in fairness, there was another YouTuber I was following today that was complaining about the same thing last night. He did a video last night, and he was saying, what do you mean I'm buffering? And it wasn't buffering when I was watching it today, but apparently he was having some buffering issues too. So there's still, I think, with some YouTube issues.
Yeah, it could be some server issues. Oh, well.
YouTube doesn't like Linux.
It was time to hop anyway. I'd been on Arch.
OBS is very fickle. You need to have specific bit rates and stuff.
I was on Arch for almost 2 weeks, so I needed to move to something else. I put Solus on the main machine here, so
nice.
Yeah.
I was on Arch for almost 2 weeks. It was too much.
Well, that was the longest I'd been on a distro in the last 2 months because everything else I gave it like a week. You know,
too much time. Like 3 days, and you should be switching. Like they should have a recurring thing.
No, that's Rocco. 3 days.
I'm with you on that. I've been on Ubuntu Budgie now for almost a month, and I have got to change. But there's something else I want to do on this before I wipe it.
Yeah, but you know what? I get this bad rap. I'm just going to say that. I get this bad rap for being a distro hopper, and yet I've been on Ubuntu beta for how long now?
3 weeks.
Got to be at least 2 or 3 weeks.
And when the official release comes out, you're going to hop to something else.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's not talk about down the road, dude. We're just talking about what I've been.
Yeah, but see, he's not telling you something. He's been on it for 3 weeks. He means 3 shows. The rest of it, he's been on something else during it. When you don't.
Come on, Joe. That's like beside the point, dude.
He chooses different ones every day.
I was going to be definitely because XFCE are now changed. They got better support for monitors
Colin,
apparently.
I'll be the judge of that. Hey, look, I would be ecstatic if they got that fixed. That would be so awesome. So we'll see, though.
In there yet, or is there a 14?
It's already been released. It was released about a month ago.
Roughly. Yeah, but if you don't have the right PPA, it just doesn't automatically filter down through, does it?
No, you have to have that backports and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's kind of the normal thing with it when it comes to all Ubuntu based.
You remember I had mentioned a while back about the multi-monitor issue. I was thinking about something, and I know I'm following Rocco's footsteps sometimes, which may not be a good thing with the same problems.
May not be a good thing, just saying.
But, you know, one thing I really haven't attempted to try on here, because I was talking about it with Toss last night on his program, I haven't really rearranged any of my cables. Are you aware of any possible cabling issues where maybe it would do better with a display port versus, because usually display ports sound like it's actually worse with some distros, or HDMI, or because right now I'm on HDMI, but I also have some DVI ports too. So are you aware of maybe it could be a cabling issue that sometimes would cause that for multiple monitors?
I mean, HDMI is always the most reliable.
Yeah, what's the problem you're having?
Well, when I put it on here, I boot up and I've got the little rodent one on this, which is typical of XFCE, and then I get the proper background for MX17, and then you got to go through some hoops, which isn't the most horrible thing in the world, to get the wallpaper fixed. But when you go to game on it, is when it would just throw everything out of whack. It would, if I had it on the normal resolution, like I do now with my Mate for, let's say, I play American Truck Simulator most, but I'm starting to play some other ones thanks to Matt now. And they come up on the screen just fine. But
shout out to Dark One.
I went on ATS and all of a sudden it splits between the two monitors, which are 2 different resolutions. And then I have to change it down and it's almost too small. So it just doesn't like something on the gaming platform or Steam or whatever it is. So I don't know if it's just a cabling issue or whatever. I'm not sure.
This game you're trying to play an older game, Joe?
What's that?
Is this game you're playing or trying to play, is it an older game?
No, it's American Truck Simulator.
No, the other one that you said you were trying to play.
No, the one he posted in Telegram. I don't know how old it is. I didn't check out. That one, that one worked perfectly on me last night on Mate, so I don't know what it will do on MX-17, but MX-17 was my simulator games, and which is what I play most. And
I know some of the older games have issues like you're talking about, where they're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, that's a Unity launcher issue usually.
I don't know if he could hear us because he's
who?
No, me. Yeah.
Dolphin.
Oh, I can hear you.
Oh, he's
just listening.
Oh, he
You were aware of
speaks.
any hardware
He just wants
issues.
everyone else to answer.
This is his chill out time.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
his tech support time.
He had enough of that last
Oh,
week.
Okay, I won't bug it.
I don't know.
We're not on.
Do you have any? The thing is,
XFC is weird. I'm waiting for updates too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Joe.
the reason why I think I was asking too is because I almost have a little sense of, as much as I love Mate, I really love your MX-17, and it's like, God, I was so excited to, man, I'm going to finally hop here, and then that happened. I go, shoot. It's like, I'm back where I started, and it's not the worst thing, because I would boot between both of them, but I really want to put MX back on. I
found that XFCE, it's like when they wrote the display stuff, they decided that your primary monitor is always going to be on the left and your secondary monitor is always going to be on the right.
Yeah.
And if you do that, it works okay. But mine's not that way. My secondary monitor is on the left and my other one's on the right. And right now, tonight, I just have one monitor because I don't do that when I'm screencasting. But it really gets weird because it doesn't seem to like remember which one's supposed to be primary, even though you tell it it's primary. So you never know where things are going to open.
Well, that's exactly my problem, Dolphin, with XFCE, and I do have the secondary monitor on the right. Yeah. And it still has issues with
that's where mine is.
With games and programs. You just never know where it's going to pop up. And 90% of the time, it pops up on the secondary monitor on the right.
Yeah. Now, one thing about the Truck Simulator game is I think doesn't the game support multiple monitors? Can't you have
Yeah, you can.
Windows, it does, but I still couldn't get it adjusted right. It was quirky because if you go to one resolution, if you want to play it on my higher res 34-inch curved screen, that's 3440 by 1440, and I got 1920 by 1080 on this screen.
Yeah, it won't work with that combination.
If I set it to that setting, then the window's down like this on a big monitor. It's like it defeats the purpose of it, and it's working on. Now I've got a solution for it, but because I mentioned this on Carmine's again last night too, I said, "Yeah, I think I'm just going to go buy a 43-inch, and I'll have 4 panes, and I'll get rid of all the extra monitors." That'll do it. So,
yeah, but see, I need the dual monitor thing because I record on that second monitor. That's how I do the recording, because 90% of the time when I try to capture a window, like if I try to capture the Zoom window, it'll just be a black screen. So I have to full screen it on the secondary monitor so I can capture the whole screen in order to record.
Have you put that on Zoom and OBS forums?
No.
Because it might be something the two of them could work out. It probably is a Zoom issue, yeah. But
it's weird, though, because it'll happen on Firefox. It'll happen on Chrome. Like I'll do a screenshot where half the screen's the video and half the screen. And I'll go and I'll be recording fine with it for a week. And then the following week, when I go to do the same exact thing. No, not even distro hop, because even if I distro hop, I keep the same folders. But anyway, I could be doing one on Firefox this week, and then next week I'll come to it and it'll be a black screen, and I'll have to actually switch browsers and position it in a certain way so that I can capture it. But
very weird.
Is that the X composite plugin in OBS that's failing on you?
I don't know I don't know what's going wrong with it. All I know is sometimes it'll show up as a window, and sometimes it'll just be a black screen.
Because I've noticed some applications, they end up being just like a black rectangle.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be a little checkbox you can work around for X, and that does nothing. So
there's also load command parameters you can do if you want, but there's sometimes where some of the applications will display a black screen, but they actually do work. No. So it's a weird where the preview will show you black, but if you record it and watch it, it's there.
I've also found out turning off the compositor, like when I'm using OpenBox, if I turn off the Compton compositor, some of those black screens all of a sudden show up now. So
I'm on none.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That would be some kind of layering issue there.
Yeah.
The solution I've always found is to use plasma.
Is that what your solution is?
Here we go again, yeah.
Huh. Imagine that.
Surprise, yeah.
I got Matt back. There you go.
Have you experienced this, Rocco, too?
What's that?
In the NVIDIA server settings, I've gone in, turned off, flipping and all that stuff, and I put pipeline on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried saving it with a file. I've tried, or just quitting, whatever. And now I just open up again, and it's back on. That's been happening, and that didn't happen before. And lately, it's been happening every time. It keeps turning it back on.
Well, the only time that happens is if I don't save the config in the Xorg folder.
I have saved it, and it still won't. It still
That's weird. I've never had that happen
before.
Okay.
Something changed.
Right at the bottom, Joe, there's an NVIDIA settings configuration. I always try and save that as well, because I don't know whether the OpenGL is going to be part of the xorg.conf or NVIDIA settings configuration. I don't know if they save to the same file, but there are two distinct places to save. So try saving your OpenGL, go back down to the NVIDIA settings configuration, and then it says there, save current configuration. Yeah, and in fact, it saves it into your home folder, .NVIDIA settings -RC.
See, I always did what he's talking about. I just never realized that's actually what it was doing.
And that might be it too, because I did think that I forgot about that. There was a second save on it, and maybe that is it, because I hadn't done that in a while. So I'll try.
I think the NVIDIA settings are actually starting to migrate away from storing that stuff in an xorg.conf anyway.
All right, where are they putting them? Do you know?
Well, I have no idea. There's a persistence daemon in there now.
Oh.
And maybe I don't know where it puts these things. I haven't really looked into it, but I noticed when we brought the newer NVIDIA drivers into MX, all of a sudden NVIDIA Xconfig and a bunch of other things are deprecated.
Oh, okay.
So they still work, but it's not guaranteed to work forever.
Ouch. Because one of the first things I turn off is show really quit. Well, if I didn't want to quit, I wouldn't have hit the quit button. Don't ask me, do I want to quit? It's just like, really? Just turn that annoying thing off. And now I can just quit and it goes away. Wonderful.
How do you turn it off? I didn't even know you could turn it off. I didn't look that far.
You know how you fix that? You switch to Plasma. Oh, no, that's right. That doesn't fix that.
That doesn't fix it any distro. They all ask you.
I thought Plasma fixed everything, dude.
No. Every single distro and every DE has that problem of, hey, are you sure about this?
Yeah, it goes beyond. It goes beyond GUIs. Even in the shell, you type in the wrong command, it's going to ask you, "Are you sure you really want to do this?"
Yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on what command you're posting, that's a good thing.
Some of them may even tell you, "You're about to break your system. Do you really want to continue?" Well, yeah, I want to continue. That's why I typed it.
Whereas Suicide Linux just goes, okay, gone.
I have to say, I'm one that appreciates that, because I do some silly things sometimes. So
I have never done something ridiculous like that.
Do it in a VM. Don't do it on your real machine.
I mean, I have never copied files into a root folder and messed everything up.
Nah, who would do that, right?
It's ridiculous.
What was that Solus program?
You
play around with DD enough.
If you don't copy and paste, Rocco.
just today, I had my MX. I'm actually not running MX right now. I'm running Annex off a live USB stick right now.
Okay.
You're streaming on Zoom on a live USB.
Yes, I am.
Wow.
Oh, I usually do that. I'm not today, but I usually do that.
But I had my Zoom settings already from before. Yeah. So on MX, so I'm copying all the folders in, and I accidentally copied everything in my MX config folder into completely the wrong folder on the Annex box. And if you tell it to do it on Annex, it ain't going to ask you if do you really want to do this? No, it's just going to do it because you.
Because
did you have to rebuild, or did you have to Did you go back? Did you have a backup of it, or did you have to start?
No,
again?
I just untangled it. It didn't take that long. It didn't break my MX install because that was already. I was copying it. It just made my Annex Live USB stick look a little strange.
It is funny how people do criticise that, though, but sometimes it does come in handy, I must say. It's come in handy for me a couple of times.
It's most often a good thing. I mean, the people who are annoyed by it can just turn it off. The people who are not annoyed by it are going to actually use it and benefit from it. So it's, in my opinion, people who are annoyed by it are usually people who can just deal with it and turn it off, and then they don't really have a reason to complain other than the laziness of wanting to not have to do that versus the people who would need it to be there.
Going beyond things that actually break your system, installers. Why won't it just let you type any password in some of these installers? Like, I give it a simple 2 or 3 letter password, and some of them don't want to accept it. They want to force me to, you know.
I agree.
I can't stand that.
Like, this is a test machine.
Yeah, and I'm doing everything in VMs.
Yeah, but it doesn't know that. It doesn't know that. And this exact, you just gave an exact example of what I just said. People knowing better, having a problem with it, with making it easy for other people.
Okay.
Solus is the worst one for that.
I can say I will completely agree with Michael, because I was approached by a new client this week, said, I think our site was hacked. Can you look into it? What's your password? Hello.
I say yes, your site was hacked.
Wow, that's
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's slightly better than password.
But okay, and I would agree with you, Tom. I would agree with you if it was a, you know, if this was something secure website or
it wasn't a bank or something.
But a distro.
I agree that a lot of services should have requirements for better passwords, but the installation of a Linux distro, I think it should be whatever I want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, if I want it to be a space, like, you know what I mean? If I want it to be one, it should allow me to do that.
I disagree. There should be an advanced mode where you can activate and then do that. But I think the default should be set to, hey, you're installing Ubuntu. Maybe the password shouldn't be Ubuntu.
Look, I wouldn't care. Look, there are some out there that will give you a warning saying this is a weak password.
Yeah,
that's great. That's okay with me, but allow me to do it anyway, at least.
Yeah, nobody's setting up an Ubuntu server and using a password like Ubuntu, though. I mean, nobody does that.
I bet they do.
You ain't lying, Zeb. You ain't lying.
I bet they do.
Q4OS wouldn't let me use special characters when I was installing. The password wouldn't allow me special characters. That's really weird. I've never come across.
That's a bit strange. Yeah,
I don't know why that is.
Well, I remember asking about Solus, and it wasn't a pleasant answer when I asked why it makes you do more than 4.
Yeah, but then I used to really get annoyed with that, and then it's like, okay, install it, put some really obscure password in, get back in there, sudo password Zeb, and change it 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't stop me doing it from there.
Yeah, some of them do, though. They still require a minimum of
no problem.
6
like,
characters.
It's stopping beginners. Once you go into the advanced people, like, whatever, do whatever you want.
Yeah, but I noticed the GUI will not always let you change it to something. Small.
What they should do is
the terminal will allow you to.
Yeah, in advanced mode or an option where you click it and it says this is a bad password. I don't care about security. Checkbox.
Right. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I think the Debian...
You're an idiot, but you can use this password if you want.
This is a stupid password. Click to keep it anyway.
Yeah, it's either Debian or Fedora where you have to click done twice. If you're going to pick a bad
it's the Anaconda installer. I hate
Fedora's installer is awful. It's one of the worst. I mean, Yast is also annoying, but at least it's not the Anaconda one.
Yeah, you type a weak password in the Anaconda installer, you click done, and then it says click done again to confirm you want to use that weak password.
Did you see Robot's comment?
Yeah, you see when I answered him?
I'm doing a quick video edit. Let me know if you can hear me coming through.
You might actually try it. I said, did you like play with matches as a kid?
No, I'm doing an edit on a video, and let me know if the video comes through. Not
okay, yeah, I don't hear you.
Oh, I see, right, yeah.
Well, I'm about to. I just wanted to warn you, if you hear something that sounds like a video edit, let me know, and I'll figure something else out.
yeah, mute.
Yeah, multitasking, I like it.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you do for the password conundrum?
He uses the password conundrum.
Exactly. Honestly, I could really care less either way. I get both sides of the arguments. As a distro hopper, yes, it's annoying, but on the same note, from a security side of point of view, and let's be honest, end users are the problem. So making them actually input a password that isn't 1, 2, 3, 4 password Ubuntu or some nonsensical thing.
Hello.
or hello is, this weird thing called good.
Yeah.
So I kind of get both points.
It's just a pain.
My password is Windows. No, just kidding.
Well,
wow.
Now that we know.
The most bulletproof password is incorrect. You cannot get it wrong, because even if you get it wrong, it'll tell you your password is incorrect.
Well, Matt failed to mention his password was bite me.
No, I'm pretty sure mine usually involves cussing, but
Probably.
I'd be disappointed if it didn't.
Oh,
Password security. There's some fun things to learn that you learn about password security after being a freelance web designer for like 10 years. Someone's a Christian. G0D is G00D always.
Oh my gosh.
I mean I've seen the same exact passwords so many times. It's fairly funny.
So, quick question then on passwords. These sites that are up on the internet that says, "Oh, test how long it's going to take to break your password." Are they actually just gathering everybody's passwords, or are they a legitimate site?
There's like
thought
a
about that.
90% they are, and there's a couple that are okay.
I always thought about that, Zeb. Like, are they like doing something shenanigans and with them? I don't know, man.
There are some actual legitimate ones that will calculate it, but basically, unless you can guarantee, like if it's from a password company or a security company, I wouldn't bother. Oh, and okay, not just any security company. A security company you've heard of, maybe, as long as it's not Kaspersky.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just make the qualifiers. Just nothing.
Don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Yeah.
Just don't do
When
it.
in doubt, don't do it.
There's more negatives than positives on that one.
No,
Exactly.
Michael, one of those sites yours so that you can gather enough to put your 200 character, 125 character password together.
Oh no, I calculated it myself. It's good.
See,
I have at least 7 trillion years, so we're good.
Robot has it right. He said they have your IP address and your password. What could possibly go wrong?
That's when you get a VPN.
Yeah, that's when you should have a VPN already.
Right.
PIA maybe.
Yeah, just go to episode 66.
66.
Yeah.
You got it.
The current one.
he got it
There you
right.
go.
Destinationlinks.org.
Yeah. Episode 66.
/ Amazon.
I've seen a few people.
What? Wow. Wow.
Yeah, he went there.
Who's the shameless plugger now on your own show?
Hey, Keegan, I still have a Yahoo Mail account, so I don't know what the problem is.
Wow. Bear is not a good VPN when it was just
supposed to
purchased
plug
by
it?
McAfee.
Isn't that when you're supposed to plug it? Is when it's your own show?
That's pretty much when you should, yeah.
Yeah.
So TechSuser.com/Amazon.
It just takes every opportunity.
What? I don't do that. TechSuser.com/DistroTube.
Oh.
Wow.
Now I've actually registered distrotube.com. I just haven't put anything up on it yet.
Nice.
Just redirect it to your channel. That's what I did for a year.
Now I'll eventually build a site and put on it.
Complaining about the snaps at the moment. They reckon they're not really good looking, the snaps, which we probably all know about anyway.
The most beautiful thing ever made.
And
Except for when it wants system theming.
What? Who
Except for when they're not.
1995 designs. They're great.
Where's
No.
Simon when
Flat packs
you
have,
need
like,
him?
I mean, when you say there's
he
something
left.
better or not, there's pros and cons to both of them. There's pros and cons to app images as well. So like none of them are perfect or are the best option. They all have great things and terrible things. I would say that Snap's worst thing is the themes, and probably the biggest problem is the fact that they've had that issue for so long and are just now trying to fix it.
No, the themes are not the worst problem with Snaps. The system D requirement is the worst problem with Snaps.
Oh, well, that's
You mean like
another thing.
Flatpak? What do you mean?
Yeah.
So there's
That's
Flatpak
right,
too.
because I see Dolphin nodding there because I was having a problem with snaps in MX, and I think app images and flat packs. I don't know if I've tried flat packs. I think it was just app
I
image.
haven't tried flat packs. I was playing around with snaps today, and I could get Simple Screen Recorder to start, but I could not get VLC to start. And it all comes down because I was not booting in System D mode. And then actually, if you really want to use a snap, just flip over to System D mode. We're not religious about not having System D. It's actually there. It's not being
You're also going to have the same situation of flatpacks. They're System D based.
They might. I don't know.
Are they System D? You know, I found.
I mean, they're made by GNOME, and GNOME itself is dependent on System D. I'd be shocked if it didn't have some.
Well, I can understand why Flatpak has that requirement because the GNOME developers, but why do snaps make a System D a requirement?
Because System D is basically a universal thing now. Like you everybody who doesn't like it, get over
not that
it.
universal.
It's going to go. You are going to be forced to be embracing System D. You have no choice.
Gen 2's never moving.
100% of servers are System D based. You go to like a few distros that are still holding out on like SysV and OpenRC, but most of them, no, they're gone. It's System D. Like you're going to get it.
I know very little about the issue with System Z versus the other systems. And I'm asked a lot, what is the whole controversy and why does everyone keep saying it's the NSA spying on you through it? I have no clue. I don't really care much, but I kind of want your opinion.
And that's, I mean, the NSA thing is just craziness, really. But there are issues. The guy who made System D, like everything he makes, he gets a ton of hate for. He made Pulse Audio.
Pulse Audio.
That's like anything he releases, people are like, "Oh, how dare you!" It's like he's made a lot of good stuff. Like, why are you all hating on it just because it's not exactly what you wanted? It's different. No. But like the most biggest issue is that they're like System D is so huge, it's so heavy, it's monolithic and stuff, and it's like so is Linux. Let's all use BSD now.
So you mean it takes longer to start up or something like that, or what do you mean by heavy?
No, it's actually System D's faster.
Yeah, System D's faster than OpenRC. And,
Okay.
I was going to say,
someone who
people don't like there's some lightweight issues of people who don't like having anything updated or modern, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but okay. So for someone who programs on a distro that is not System D, why do you not move across to it, Dolphin? What's the basis behind staying on an alternative in it?
All right, so Antix is anti-System D.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, MX is not. MX doesn't use System D for the init system, but it's there. It's installed. You can flip a switch in the grub, and you don't have to flip a switch. There's a grub option to boot it in System D mode. Works fine as far as I know. Our main issue with it is that the Antix live system works with System V. And it has, I don't know if Antix, there was at one time a switch that worked, and I don't know if it still does, but it's easier for us to keep the live system with System V. Unless you want to run a snap, I don't know that it matters a whole lot to a desktop user.
Yeah. Other than not being able to install snaps, I've never seen a difference with any of the init systems. I mean, as long as the distro boots up.
Experience to install snaps in Debian anyway. I mean,
but the Antix Live USB is such a handy tool to have. You've just got a system there ready whenever. It's
running it right
really
now.
Yeah.
But it's like the whole
Debian is System D by default though now.
Debian is System D by default. Yes, it wasn't in Jesse. It is in Stretch.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like the majority of System D is becoming the standard. It's at this point. Like there's so many things that are.
Yeah, but you got that whole Debian fork now. Dev 1, they've moved away.
Yeah, but they also Day 1 were 3 years old. Like, okay, it's the same thing that Triskel does. When they release a new version, they're already 2 years out of date.
Oh yeah, Triskel 8 is based on 1604 that was just released. Triskel 8. Why are you basing it?
It was released like a week ago or something, and now and it's already obsolete by 2 years. And the same thing happened to Dev 1. Dev 1 released 1.0. Stretch was released like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, it was real close. It was real close because everybody was like, "Are you switching over Antix to Dev 1?" I was like, "No, why would we do that? We can make this thing work. You got to live with a few other things." And
yeah, you got to deal with some. You got to deal with some compromises. But I mean, System D is not required in Debian. It's just the default.
Yeah.
Right.
And really,
so
there's a lot
technically,
that you can't install in Debian without systemd being an equivalent, because the Antics guys, I won't say me because I don't do any Antics packaging, but the Antics package is a whole separate no systemd repo for things like Pulse Audio. I don't know. There's a couple of dozen packages in there. I don't remember them all off the top of my head. We have a no systemd Mate in there. For instance, the Debian Mate requires systemd.
Oh wow! So it's actually they're actually adopting it way more than I thought they were.
Yeah, their stretch is hip deep. It's sysv will go away. In fact, when we were doing Annex 17 and MX17 at the same time, we delayed MX17 and Annex for a long time because we had to fix some sysv and init scripts from packages that they had systemd scripts updated, but not the sysv ones. They still had their old ones, and in particular in the networking, it was a little flaky.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing up network interfaces up and down. If plug D wasn't working quite right. And it took a long time to sort that stuff out in Annex. So, I mean, if Debian, let's put it this way, I think it's in testing now, they have removed the sysv meta package. So it's a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly.
I blame Canonical for dropping Upstart.
You mean Debian?
Well, yeah.
Don't get me started on Upstart. Upstart, right now, there are packagers, third-party packagers. Let's take Plex, the Plex Media Server. Plex Media Server comes with a systemd setup and an Upstart setup. There is no sysv setup, although it's sort of there. Just the init script's not there. All the other back-end stuff to make it work is there. So we hacked together a little init script just to make the Plex server start when people install it on MX. If you're using sysv, if you start in systemd mode, it'll work fine. If you stick with the default sysv to have all the snapshot stuff and all the live stuff, you got to do some workarounds, and it's mostly that's where it's going to come down to, is when people that are packaging this stuff say, we're not going to worry about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a lot of developers who've already done that.
And that's the real reason Ubuntu dropped Upstart, is because no one wanted to support two things.
Well, it's mainly because Canonical only dropped it because Debian adopted systemd. The Canonical said that they will continue to use Upstart if Debian continues to use Upstart by default. If they choose systemd, we will not. Like they specifically refused to weigh in on the decision because they didn't want to be attacked for having some kind of involvement. So as soon as Debian made the decision, it was like what, 3-1, 3-2, or like I forgot what the number was, but it was like only one person voted above it. Like they had to do a tiebreaker thing. So Debian it took over and just said systemd. So Canonical was like, well, we're not going to fight Debian over that, so we'll just end Upstart.
Cool.
So it's just a situation where a lot of people, Canonical gets blamed for a lot of things that they did not do. So
how close is MX17 and Antics?
Well, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How close are, and maybe it's a newbie question, but I know there's differences. How close are the two distros, MX17 and Antics? I mean,
we're close. MX is built on the Annex Core ISO.
Okay.
It's tweaked far beyond belief, so that, Annex Core is basically a command prompt. We removed the no systemd stuff. There's a few other, and of course we do all the desktop stuff, the tool set, but the live system is essentially identical.
Okay.
You just basically get a different theme when you boot it up. But if you asked how close we are, we're actually just doing a project the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It started with me working on Ryan's stupid NVMe drive.
Yeah.
And he's not here to defend himself.
Somebody finally posted some decent feedback from our installer. The installer has some scrolling output in the terminal, so they posted some feedback for it. It's like, oh, I know where the problem is.
I saw that, yeah.
So we tracked down that problem. And I started with that, and I was like, you know what? I'm already in here. I kind of got carried away, and we started a project to reunify the two installers, the MX installer and the Annex installer, because right now they're two separate code bases. They started with Mepis, but they've kind of gotten, I don't know, the more the teams worked apart and separated MX from Annex, the more the code got hard to support. So we're doing that now. We're actually out to translation now for the new installer. It's essentially this feature parity with the new installer. It's got a couple of new things for developers that no one will in the world will notice. The keyboard setup's a little different for end users, but the main thing is now it's the same chunk of code. And we can actually, if you made a respin of Annex on your own, you could type in your project name into a configuration file and it'll put it in the installer. You don't have to recompile the installer just because you want to call your respin Bob's respin.
This almost sounds like a turf war, like between developers or something.
Oh, what?
Last night on the show last night, I was talking with John. I had a joke. What did I do last night about the head of the 5 families? Joe, is that what it was?
Yeah, the head of the 5 Linux families.
I spoke with the heads of the 5 Linux families, Don Debian, Don Arch, Don Mate. They're not too happy with System D. It's unreasonable, but no.
Yeah.
Most of those are pretty happy with it.
So Annex kind of has some philosophical differences about System D, but the MX crew is a little more agnostic when it comes to it. We just
one day all developers will unite. Yeah, sure.
No, never gonna happen. That's why this whole System D thing. No, we're never all gonna settle on System D. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
that would be the year of Linux.
Oh, it will. That's going to happen. Just out of
desktop, right?
It's never happened with anything else in open source. It won't happen with the init system.
When the heads of the 1,000
it's called Linux. What are you talking about?
Reasonably.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different Linux kernels too. We're not all using the same kernel.
We're using the same kernel, just a different version of that kernel.
Right.
That's a little bit technical, don't you think?
It's the same kernel. It's the same base. But
don't get started. We've only got an hour left.
Oh my gosh! Are you going to tell us the differences between the kernels?
Well, Triskel is using a non-free kernel. Free kernel.
I was saying the difference between System D as an issue is that it's been adopted so much, so widely, so quickly that, and it has a ton of benefits. There are negatives to everything, but there's also positives to it. And people who are like super anti-System D typically don't look at really what is wrong, what is good about System D. They just focus on the negatives and they just attack it.
Kind of like GNOME, huh?
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to go there. But
I thought he was talking about me. I'm glad he was talking about Michael there.
Kind of like GNOME, where you just ignore the good things about it and just talk about the bad things, right?
No. I'm perfectly happy to talk about GNOME's good things because I use them on Plasma. And it's great.
I was waiting for like the dot.
I mean, I used to work on GNOME, so it's okay if it's something I had deep connections with, so it's okay if I make fun of it, right?
I have to admit that when I boot up into my Ubuntu Mate, I have to admit that the first thing I don't think of is, oh, thank God for System D.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
as long as you get to the login screen and it starts up, I don't think most
all the counts.
Users don't have to care, but you do like the fact that it boots up faster, right? Because that's System.
Look, if it doesn't make a coffee or something.
The System D has its own system boot thing, so it's
it's up in 6 seconds instead of 8 seconons.
Go back to Windows. That's when you need a cup of coffee for boot up time.
No, that's the whole cup. What are you talking about? Just a cup.
2 cups of coffee.
I miss my relaxing morning cup of coffee watching for the loading screen.
Boot up time. I'm just happy if it boots up on my machine.
I reckon App Images are the best thing. This App Image for KDN Live, I've tried that on a few distros now. I'm using it on Q4OS. It works. It's just awesome.
KDN Live is fantastic.
App Images.
Colin,
I don't know why they didn't go with those.
Colin, check your Zoom settings to make sure it's not auto leveling.
Yeah, I had that problem last week. Yeah.
You're pretty loud. You're not loud. You're normal at some points, and then you kind of like fade out.
Oh, was that right?
It's that System D again. No, just kidding.
I don't know if we have any checks for that on Q4OS, do we? I don't know.
Well, in the Zoom settings.
in the Zoom settings. Oh.
In the Zoom settings, bottom left-hand corner, click on audio, go options, click test mic, and on the audio thing, underneath your slider for the microphone, untick automatically adjust microphone.
Yeah. That messes everything up.
Oh, right. I see what's going
Much better.
on.
Yeah.
And I know that off by heart because I have to tell it to all the guests who don't know Zoom.
Online.
That's
it was probably
job.
I think it was the third episode where Zeb was explaining it to a guest, and I was like, "Oh, that's a thing." Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So you guys have just been nice to me all this time, is that right? Or
well, it doesn't happen all the time.
No, that was the first time.
No.
We just said it was your Australian internet packing up.
Yeah, well, that could be a possibility too. And there's a lot of storms around today. That could be another reason.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
I had that box ticked on all last week.
Yeah, you got to uncheck that immediately.
It's because of all the distro hopping.
So, do you mean the UK was hotter than Australia today?
Possibly, mate. Possibly.
What temperature did you have?
I think you meant possibly mate.
I don't know what the temperature is today.
We actually had 28. Couldn't believe it.
Wow, that's
yeah.
For the UK, that's good. And for my American friends, that's about 86.
That's a heat wave in England.
I would take it. Because here in Ohio, in the States, for April, it's been like in the 20s at night. And
same thing here in upstate New York.
And that's Fahrenheit.
We're having snow.
That's cold.
That's just ridiculous.
Snow sticking on the ground.
We're going back to 13 next week.
It's unseen. I called Uncle Guido in Sicily about the weather. He says, "Forget about it. I can't touch it."
Anyway. It was great today here.
It's 43 here. Right now.
Wow.
Actually, we got up to about 55.
Yeah.
So, just
and then the clouds came in.
Does anyone know if Pop! OS follows the updates with Ubuntu, or they do their own thing? Pop! OS.
No, they'll follow the Ubuntu release.
Yeah. Oh, they will they? Okay.
They haven't specified absolutely if they're just LTS or not. They're just talking about. They've only talked about 1804 so far.
Okay.
So we don't know absolutely if they're going to. They're probably going to continue. They'll probably maintain the same way that Ubuntu does, where they'll just follow. Right. They'll have both, where they'll do the LTS and
Pop! OS does feel faster to me, and honestly, I'm not sure why. In my test,
yeah, their extensions aren't working though. A lot of them because they're a bit behind. I think
that's the GNOME extensions. That's another bad thing about GNOME. Yeah, they tend to break.
Rocco's like, and there goes the.
Why you always got to focus on the bad?
That's
Derek?
perfect for your channel, Derek.
Quit using a rolling.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's true.
A lot less breakage.
That's true. I just need to set
your
on
channel. It's perfect. I mean, if something worked, you'd have to cancel your channel because it would be so stable. It'd be ridiculous.
It would be unusual. Yeah.
Derek, you have to watch Tossin's.
When he ran Annex there a couple weeks ago, he jumped right into unstable with both feet.
You know, I lived in it for a week, but I shouldn't have done that 1200 package update right before doing that one live stream. That was
bad. But that was the best hour.
You know, and I know better than to do like a 1200 package update. Usually when I see an update like that, I immediately go ahead and reinstall. I don't even attempt it.
Well, you have to watch the Alan Pope interview on the Total OS channel. You might learn something.
Yeah.
I did. I know.
It was great to have him on, and I'm sure he knows GNOME is not my favorite, but I asked him why they picked GNOME, and no, he explained it, and after I kind of had a feeling why they did, but he explained. We talked about the past, present, and future of Ubuntu, and once he broke it down into what they did, why they did it, and it made sense.
Yeah, but the reason not just him, but the reason they Canonical gives is not a reason. It's a lazy, hey, this is the reason, deal with it. They never gave an actual reason. Oh, we have a lot of GTK developers, so we wanted to use it. You also had Qt developers. So what's the reason? Like,
but here's the thing. How many people that are running 1604 still using Unity when they upgrade, how many of them still want to use Unity? I imagine most of them will want to stay on Unity.
You can install the Unity desktop in GNOME, in Ubuntu GNOME, Unity session through the terminal.
Well, by default, most upgrades are not going to have that, so they're not going to know that at all.
See, this is the problem. Probably 95% of the people that are running the old LTS are going to want to stay with Unity. They don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
there's
it's
a lot of anonymous Unity users out there, isn't there? There must
No,
be a lot.
there are more Unity users than anything else.
He
everything
acknowledged
else
Unity.
combined.
He acknowledged it. It was great. That they were ahead of their time, and in terms of
you
keyboard-centric
guys,
search. No,
you guys know I love minimal window managers. I actually like Unity, like running a full desktop environment. Unity makes sense because of all the keyboard shortcuts.
I liked it. And he likes it
It's
too.
also
Yeah.
a minimal approach. It's like, here's what it is.
It's kind of minimal in its own way.
It was refined though too. I mean, it was like a beautiful desktop. Like
It took a
everything
few
was
years
refined.
to get to that point, but yeah, yeah.
I think that's all.
You
That's
say
true.
rewind to when it first came out and see what everybody thought of it.
That's 1204 was the first version of Unity that was fantastic.
Yeah, I actually was beta testing 1104, which is the very first Unity, and that was the worst alpha and beta releases. I mean, now when you beta test Ubuntu releases, they're stable. You rarely have to reinstall. But man, I must have reinstalled 1104 6 times. Doing the beta testings on
That's
this.
true for
My favorite
anytime the very
1604,
first
but
version is gonna be bad. Like that's just what's gonna happen.
Oh,
And
it was horrible.
he acknowledged that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, like even Canonical at the time was like 11.4 is not really what we're suggesting you to use. Like, just give it some time. If you're interested in testing, feel free. That's why it's not an LTS release.
2 weeks before the release, I remember there was a major discussion within Canonical about releasing Unity. If maybe they should just scrap it at the last second and just ship 1104 with GNOME 2, even though they spent the whole release cycle focusing on Unity. But they ended up releasing.
Actually, Unity was the first version of Unity. Technically, that was the first version that was in Ubuntu.
Right.
But it wasn't the first version. So they had about a year of development before they got to the release. So like that's why it was as good as it was when it was released. Which is a ton of work for a new DE to do with less than a year.
Yeah.
So like they had the netbook version or I don't know what they called it.
Yeah, that was it. Netbook edition of Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Like that one was the technical first one. So they had about 6 months of that one and then 6 months of like the regular Unity. So almost a year, but close. Mm-hmm. And it was like Unity is a situation where the people who were the most vocal hated it. And the people who enjoyed it just used it and enjoyed it and just kept it. And then now that it's going away, there's so many people come out and say, hey, I actually like this. Why are you getting rid of it? And that's the kind of the negative to.
He hinted at that too. It's funny that a lot of people didn't like it, or a lot of people that like it didn't say anything until now that it's gone from Canonical.
Yeah, but I think part of that, Toss, is the fact that some people didn't give it a chance, including myself.
That's true
like
too.
I tried it, and it was so different than a traditional desktop than what I was used to. That I just said no way. And I left it, and I was the first one to go and make fun of it, and say, Unity this and Unity that. It wasn't until I actually tried it, till I actually liked it.
Well, it's shaking away or throwing away your preconceptions about something, and sometimes it's hard because sometimes our thoughts are ingrained to work. This should not look like that; it should look like this or whatever. But I told Alan I chose Unity because I got so used to Ubuntu with GNOME 2, coming from Windows XP at the time, and 7 and Windows 7. But I told him, I think it was 2011, that I had to choose. Well, a lot of people had to choose between Unity or GNOME 3. And when Linus Torvalds says GNOME 3 was an easy choice. Mess, well, I didn't follow Linus Torvalds' advice. I said because I thought then and now GNOME 3 looks slick. But I thought, well, for beginners, for newbies, which one would I use? And that's how I went for Unity. And it kind of grew on me. It wasn't easy at first, Rocco, because you kind of like, gee, I'm gonna miss GNOME too, and I did. But Unity, I think it's different. But not different enough to I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to learn this? It wasn't with GNOME 3, my God, what is that? I got to put extensions, I got to do this, and Linus Torvalds.
To be honest
made
with
fun
you,
of it, so
the first time I tried Unity was coming from Windows. So that made it completely different.
That would be a shock.
Everything was completely different.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the reason why I like Unity, it was different than Mac and Windows. No, it's just a different desktop experience.
I mean, some people
Unity was different, but not. I mean, coming from GNOME 2 to Unity, it wasn't quite as a shock to me. From Windows, I can certainly.
From Windows
to GNOME 2 is not a shock. At least to me, it wasn't. And he
no,
agreed.
it was
But
like
even
really
from Mac
was
to Unity wasn't too bad a switch
Right.
either.
Yeah.
But Unity
That I
took
found.
getting used to, but I just found it more. Of course, back then I wasn't a newbie, when Unity came out, but it just seemed the flow wasn't as oh my god as Gnome 3 was. You know what I mean? Like the flow, thinking how does this? It just wasn't. So, look, it was a 50-50 chance I could have gone either way, but I predicted Unity was the way to go, and it seems like at the end, now that it's gone, a lot of people are more. The people who were the silent majority spoke out, "Hey, why is it going away now?" But Gnome 3 kind of grows on me now a little bit because it's in a test machine. I don't use it every day, but it's still not my choice. Yeah.
GNOME is at a point where it's actually usable now. I mean, they're trying their best to make that not possible.
Yes,
barely usable.
But
I understand.
Make Gnome 4.
We need to play that statement back every now and again.
It's just GNOME has a lot. Like GNOME when it first came out was absolute garbage. Like just the first 3 or 4 versions were just atrocious. You could not use it. It would crash all the time. And even though I used it, I didn't like it. And I switched to Unity. When 1204 came out, I went to Unity and I just loved it.
Okay.
And it was the best solution outside of Plasma. I didn't like Plasma at the time. That was available. And I used it until you know what the most annoying thing? 1204 Unity had a Qt version. Yeah. And then they realized, we should switch to Qt 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
They could have already had a fantastic solution with Qt, and it would have been and it was actually, if you go back and find the 1204 version and you use the Qt version, it was fast, it was stable, it was fantastic. And then they abandoned it 6 months later. Great.
Wow. Well, 1804 is stable, and that's why I told Alan for beginners, I'll give it a recommendation to try, only because it is stable. I mean, how can I not recommend the stable OS? It wouldn't be fair. But I also told them for my test, you need 4 gigs. Here we go. You need 4 gigs of RAM to run it comfortably in my tests, and that throws me off. That turns me off.
I would just tell people that, like, if someone's coming from Linux and they say what version of Linux should I, or Windows, coming from Windows, what version of Linux should they use or whatever, I would just tell them use Ubuntu. Whether that is Ubuntu proper or Ubuntu flavor doesn't matter. As long as it's Ubuntu based, they're pretty much good.
I still go with Mate, and I think Alan also likes Mate. He thinks it's easier. It's not as a shock coming from Windows because it looks like the old GNOME 2 days. But no, he is aware of the issues, and I think the developers, he is an advisor. I think his official role is Snap Package Advocate or advisor. Yeah. I cracked the joke like the concierge in The Godfather. He says, I have to admit, I've never seen The Godfather movies. I was like, oh my God, really, Alan?
What?
But, he's never seen The Godfather movie. He's in his 40s. He's never seen that. I said, so why are you being so disrespectful, Alan? But
I haven't actually seen all of them in full.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to have a Godfather fest.
Yeah, I should call my dad. He was in all 3. I say, Pop, you want to give some advice?
Down in Columbus, Ohio, they did the Godfather movies on the real cameras at the film center there at the college at OSU.
Nice.
I was there for a different reason. I snapped a picture and sent it to my brother because he's a big fan.
Nice.
Look, you can come up to Columbus. You can watch you can watch The Godfather at an actual movie theater.
I've watched more documentaries about The Godfather than I have the actual.
Oh, there are so many. I remember as a kid, I was young. I remember going to the premiere of The Godfather too. My dad took me. And I didn't want to go. I wanted to see a Bruce Lee movie because Bruce Lee was hot at the time. Kung Fu. I'm like, really, Godfather? Now, who knows? Al Pacino could have been there. I couldn't have cared less. But it was at the Paramount Theater, I think, in New York. I remember I had to get dressed up. I wasn't happy. And I remember saying to myself, God, this movie is long, Pop. Jeez, Now, looking back as an adult, I'm like, damn, that was a good movie. But, anyway.
So, speaking of Godfather, let's talk about the director from The Godfather Free Software, Richard Stallman.
Oh, let's talk about him.
What's the director?
Transition? You like that?
That's a good transition, Michael.
Did you read his op-ed?
No.
Uh-oh.
He's basically talking about how there should be laws that prevent companies like Facebook from collecting data on people.
But
Fair enough.
That's kind of been his stance, that they're morally unjust, a lot of that stuff.
Yes, but there's a simple answer to all that. You could just not use it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't need another law to legislate. Laws do not do well when they try to legislate.
Because the laws aren't good enough. They're not good enough.
They're not meant to do that.
And
they're
I think
not meant to do that.
Richard Stallman is enough of a hippie that I think he knows that we don't need more laws for this stuff.
We don't.
I just think he's just trying to, bring attention to it.
I think last night me and Joe were talking about something about what laws would I write if I could. What was it? It was Wells Fargo, right, Joe? I think I meant they were fined $1 billion.
Yes. And another 100 million.
And I'm like, yeah, but see, $1 billion to a Wall Street firm, it's peanuts. It's not. It's like a slap on the wrist. I think I said, if you really want to have a law with teeth, if you're the head of Wells Fargo or whatever, Facebook, and you're stealing privacy, you're not being a mandatory jail sentence for a year in the cell next to Bubba. You cannot buy your way out. You cannot pay $1 billion or $2 million. You have to go to money is not an issue.
Money doesn't count.
You have to go to jail. You watch how quickly they change tunes.
Well, and what did I say? I said, or a yacht ride with 2 Italians, and you're done.
I think a lot of the problem comes with around. It was around the 70s is when corporations finally were bestowed with the same rights as individuals.
That was much later than the 70s.
It
was during Obama.
It was before Obama.
No, it was 10 years ago. The Supreme Court case.
The Supreme Court thing.
There was a Supreme Court case there, but the erosion started around the 70s. And it started around, a lot of it centered around the media and movies.
They removed restrictions, they removed regulations, all kinds of stuff.
But the problem is that corporations have all of the rights under the Constitution, but zero responsibilities. That's the thing
But that was only in the last 10 years with the Supreme Court ruling.
There was a court ruling. That was what was solidified it in stone.
The Supreme Court ruling,
Citizens United or whatever it was.
But even at that, if you got deep enough pockets,
were freedom of speech or not, and whether a corporation had freedom of speech. That Citizens United is what you're talking about, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Citizens United was a situation where there was no good outcome.
There is a particular to freedom of speech for corporations, because the argument being, of course, that a corporation isn't a person, but the past laws, I think that Tom's talking about, kind of said, a corporation is a person under certain laws. It was sticky.
There was a lot of weird.
Right. This is
something I put a ton of study in because I used a lot of it for one of the books I'm working on right now, and it's crazy. It actually goes back to the early 1900s, but I mean it's been slowly eroded away. It was around the 70s is when things really started to turn. That was the first case where a company was given the expression of free speech, and I forget the exact date, but it was around that area.
Which company?
Well, it's centered around the formation of the Motion Pictures Association of America, because what happened is each individual state prior to that time had their own individual laws and mandates, and then what ended up happening is that the companies had to, like, I'm sorry, I'm getting too loud for my neighbors. What the companies did is the companies got a movie was released that they had to be approved in every single state separately. And then that caused a lot of uproar.
Well, that goes back to all the morality and ethics crap that was going on at the time. And that went back
around free speech.
The late 30s. Actually, it started after World War II.
Yeah.
They should have. Companies should be able to have free speech. They just shouldn't have no consequences.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's what I was starting to say. Look what it comes down to. Even in today's world with the current laws, what do? You got deep enough pockets, you buy your way out of it. If it gets hot enough, they have a scapegoat that they blame it on, and the corporation still comes back. I still, I'm not going to crack the joke, but it's really not a joke. I said, where are my dividends? Did you get any of yours from when banks were all bailed out with government money? And then they made it right back again. And really, when you think about it, even from a Microsoft standpoint, it wasn't all that long ago they got nailed for antitrust, and yet the way I look at it, what they did with Windows 10 is even worse than what they were being sued for before, and yet you don't see any ramifications for it, except for one woman that sued for $10,000 and won when her business got shut down.
Companies should be more Linux philosophy, be open, be more transparent and open.
Yes.
I mean, I understand they got to have their trade secrets, and if they make something a patent, that's fine. But this thing where they ask, well, the thing when the Congress asked CEOs to come front and explain what happened to Wells Fargo or whatever, well, I wasn't aware. I didn't know. You're the freaking CEO. Are you being paid to be an idiot? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but
do you want the answer to that?
In some states, like New York, and that's why a lot of these corporations don't want to be based in New York. They go to states like Delaware where there's nothing. In New York, the officers of the corporation are responsible for the corporation. So if the corporation does something screwball and illegal, even if the CEO of the corporation doesn't know about it, plausible deniability and all that, he's still responsible. That's New York State. Most states are not that strict.
Well, Toys R Us is going under, and the CEO's getting a bonus.
Model law. That's almost true in almost all the states now. They've adopted model laws. I had a construction company, and we were in 26 states, and I can't tell you how many of those things we had to sign. But it's pretty well limited to, are you telling us the truth in your document filings?
Yeah.
As long as you're telling, if it's not against the law.
To the best of your knowledge.
That's the classic line. To the best of your knowledge.
The whole problem here with Facebook is that the data that they obtained legally,
yes,
and willingly from us folks using Facebook, gave it to a third party per their agreement to sell advertising or to do whatever Cambridge
whatever they wanted to do with it.
Not even what they did.
After their order was expired, Cambridge Analytica was supposed to remove the data. They weren't even a part of the Facebook agreement. Like that, Cambridge Analytica had nothing to do with Facebook in the sense of actually a partnership with Facebook. It was a Facebook agreement with a professor who was doing research for educational purposes, who he sold the stuff to Cambridge. Okay, however they got it. The whole problem with Zuck getting pulled in front of Congress and the fact that the congressman pretty well botched the job is beside the point, is because they lost control of it. They're basically when they give the third party the data, there's no super magnetic expiring, encrypted glob of data. It's just a big glob of data. Here's the hard drive, take it. And that stays in the wild. I mean, I'm not in the business of collecting people's data. If someone handed me a hard drive full of data and I was supposed to use it for 30 days and get rid of it, it'd probably still be in the garage.
The guy who worked for Cambridge Analytica, who came out as the whistleblower, he said that they were told to get rid of it. He said, I know for a fact the stuff I had, I deleted, but I would be shocked if all of it is gone. I'd be shocked that there wasn't multiple copies.
The other thing people don't realize is when you accept a friend on the friends list, by proxy, you're giving Facebook information of data that they otherwise may not have wanted them to have. And I didn't know that. That came out as
phone numbers associated with people who you might not even know.
Yeah. Right. That's always been one of Richard Stallman's, getting back to his stance on Facebook, is he's always been against social networking sites like Facebook because they require real names, real phone numbers. You can't fake anything. You have to actually give them real info.
Well, I mean, you can fake it. It has to be a name.
Well, really, there's so many people with different names on Facebook.
Yeah. And you don't have to show a driver's license or anything. All you have to do is click the box that says, yes, I'm 13 or older. That's basically it.
Actually, I tried to create a fake Facebook account last week.
Yeah, how'd that work?
I could not do it.
Yeah, it's hard because they want real phone numbers. I mean, they won't.
Now, if I want to make up a real name that I'm Bob Smith from Phoenix, Arizona,
that's what I'm saying.
I didn't really want to put in a real name, right? I didn't want to cause a problem for the actual Bob Smith in Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, I could have made up.
I think Tom and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about humanity versus technology, and I think technology is winning right now. I think we talked about that because, look, it's human nature to want to socialize, to want to be to share ideas,
We're
to want to be
social
part.
species.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with Facebook in theory to share your thoughts. Kind of like what we do here with family, friends, or even strangers on Facebook who hope are of good moral and good heart. There's nothing wrong with the intrinsic idea of that. The problem is the abuse of that humanity and package it into something that's so ugly. It's not necessarily our fault. I mean, to a point it is, because ultimately we're in charge of what we do. But if you take something at face value that it's good and it's not, it gets twisted. But there's nothing wrong with being, human interaction, sharing ideas, joking, laughter, pain.
But
I just wanted you to know.
But you see, the problem is that people just made this assumption, there's no cost for all this free stuff. Well,
I understand.
Nothing is truly free.
I understand.
That way. I mean, and you lose your privacy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
well,
it's very nasty. You should unfriend Facebook today.
Yeah. and it goes beyond the privacy concern. Somebody like Richard Stallman and the free software people, they hate the way Facebook censors people. I mean, you're not free to just post anything on Facebook.
Another factor too, that it's one thing if you create a Facebook account and share all your data. It's another thing altogether with the concept of the shadow profiling and collecting all that data when you have not agreed to it, or you've agreed to terminate your account, and they're still collecting data unless you take radical steps. But the biggest problem now is with Windows 10 S mode, you can't edit the host file. Almost all your smart devices, you can't edit the host file, so you can't take those proactive steps on your own.
I've been muted.
That's right. There was a lot of background noise.
Oh, my desk was stuck. There. You can unmute.
Just wanted you guys to know that everything you say is being recorded.
That's okay.
Recording. Yes, but we're friends.
It's okay.
Rocco, you didn't technically have us sign anything or check a box, so we didn't opt in.
You didn't see it?
Yeah.
I didn't make it big enough when you joined.
We're now going to be immortalized on YouTube.
That's okay. This is part of the 5 families. We're all having an agreement here on faith and blood. It's okay.
Now, wait a minute.
No, but here's my point about Facebook. Here's my point about Facebook. It's a service that you can choose to use or choose not to use. So if they're telling you up front that they're going to collect this data and you're putting that data out there, I mean, just stop using it. You don't need to legislate or put another law out there to control Facebook.
I agree.
You just need to stop using it.
A major boycott might send a message, yeah.
Yeah, it would.
I agree.
I was going to say, my biggest gripe is people seem to not understand that things like Facebook, things like Google, you are the product.
Yeah.
You are the product you sell more products to.
That's why it's free.
Windows 10. Yep.
One of Richard Stallman's famous sayings is that the people that use Facebook are not users; they are the used.
Yeah,
really.
They're the product.
Yeah, we need a Linux version of Facebook.
Even with Windows,
the only respectable way of doing like an actual business or any kind of thing that has products that is not like trying to is touchdigital.com/Linux.
Amazon. Oh, it's
Wow. Going back to something that.
All right, I'm sorry, Zeb.
Carry on, go on.
Well, we keep coming back to Windows, but how many people say, well, it's not that bad, it works, and frankly, I don't really care, what kind of information they're getting on me. But when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you're saying the same thing about Facebook, but Windows, the difference with Windows is if you don't want to use Linux, you don't want to use Mac, what other choice do you have? Or there's a certain software program that doesn't work on either of those platforms, you have to use it. So now you're still a product that nobody reads the EULA and you're agreeing to because you just want to use it. I think what it is you're out of sight, out of mind. I'll ignore it in my own mind until it really becomes a problem.
Ignorance is bliss. Yep.
Yeah.
Windows is more of a
look at those user agreements. They're reams and reams of paper. I mean, even if you're a lawyer, you don't understand half of what's in there.
I was going to say, Barbara, they're gobbledygook, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They are legal gobbledygook. And I was always taught, because my father was a lawyer, read everything before you agree or you sign it. And I look at these things and go, oh my God, I'm not going to sit here and spend the next 2 days reading it.
He must have said read and understand it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is almost impossible.
I've always missed that.
You can check the link in the chat, the live chat. It's termsofservicedidn'tread.org.
I mean, I use Facebook. I got a lot of long distance relatives, so I mean, you know, I use it because they use it. If it's free and they want to use me to advertising and all that, I've got no problem with that. As long as they're not taking my passwords and stuff like that, I'm reasonably happy with that.
Well, Facebook is probably taking that, and they're guaranteed taking your phone calls. If you have the Facebook app installed on your phone, even if it's not running, they are keeping track of like who you're calling, everything you could possibly imagine. They are doing it. You have agreed to by just installing the app. Yeah. But like the thing is with Facebook, as Rocco said, it is a choice to use it or not. Yeah. But there are other things that like Congress, when they bring someone in front of them and asked them questions, it's a spectacle. It is a entertainment show.
Absolutely, it is.
Do nothing else. It's the only time that they have ever done anything in a Congress setting of, there's a hearing, is when it's baseball and there's steroids. And that they just dropped the hammer on those people. Like, how dare you play a sport with advantages?
You can't do America's sport. You can't do that there.
Well, you know, man, why they take loads? What's the problem, man? You know, it's good for the Mexican economy, man. Come on, okay? No, just kidding.
I mean,
there used to be.
It's exactly the same in the UK, though. We've got parliamentary select committees, and they come up with. I mean, the biggest one just recently was the Grenville fire down in the centre of London, where you know a few people died because the way they built it was with non-fire resistant outside building cladding. Now, what was shocking was that the building next door was built by exactly the same people, but because it was for private and not social renting, the quality of the build would never have gone up in flames. And what did they do with the directors of that company? Nothing.
That's right.
Maybe they get a bonus for their.
So they're toothless in America, and they're toothless in the. It's a waste of time.
And justice for all. Yeah.
And the sad thing is that Equifax is like the worst situation that we've had recently for that. Like Facebook, Facebook's annoying, but you have a choice. Equifax was 3 times worse, and you don't have a choice. Enjoy that.
Yep.
And then that also got nothing.
Well, there used to be a program on Windows that you could download, and I think it was called EULA something, and it would actually read the EULA and kind of scan it for things that kind of threw up red flags. EULAlyzer or something like that. It was a program that used to be on Windows. I don't know if it's still around or not.
Yeah, my favorite equalizer. If you ever read it, if you get down to the end of the EULA, the last, I think, paragraph is you're not allowed to sue Microsoft without first going into arbitration with them for at least 60 days. I was like, wait, what? I'm pretty sure that's not legally binding to have that in any contract. That you're not allowed to sue.
Arbitration clauses are totally legally binding.
Are they?
Sadly,
that's a standard in the construction industry.
Yeah.
And are we to blame, really, that we don't read this stuff? I mean, they make it, they purposely make it so it's just so hard to read and understand. Well, that nobody's going to read it anyway, are they?
Yeah, but maybe that link that Michael just gave is excellent.
Yeah, that link is where they take the terms. It's the same thing of TLDR. I didn't read it, so here's the synopsis. That's what they do with the service. They just make a synopsis or a summary of the terms of service. Like, okay, here's the points that you need to know, and this is whether it's okay or not. And this is awful terms. Don't do it. They have those like that.
Maybe schools should change their curriculum so kids go into school. One of the classes they have to take is TOS law.
And we keep talking about, people have a choice with Facebook. Do people really have a choice? I mean, Prophetic in the chat asked, why don't all of us break away from YouTube? Why are we still on YouTube? Google's just as bad as Facebook.
But we have a choice.
Do we
the
really?
Choice is,
Where are we going to go?
We have a choice of whether we want to compromise or not.
Yeah.
Okay? So we don't have a choice as far as a better option. We have a choice of whether we want to use it or not.
So, but I get what that person was saying, though. With peer pressure, you have to have Facebook. If you haven't got Facebook at school, you're a loner. You're a deadbeat.
You're
on
strange.
the outside.
Facebook,
But you know, it's funny that I've had students who there are several of them say, I don't have Facebook. They don't have it because and you know what? More power to them.
I don't have a Facebook account.
Yeah, Facebook is no longer relevant among the young people. It's
all Instagram and Snapchat,
which are pretty much just as bad as Facebook.
And Twitter.
Instagram's owned by Facebook, so
Instagram is Facebook.
And I agree that Google is probably just as bad as Facebook. Okay?
They're almost worse.
But everybody here. Everybody in this chat has
we are taking your stuff.
Everybody in this chat has a choice whether or not they want to use Google, want to use YouTube or not, including me. I choose to use it, so then I don't sit here and complain about when YouTube does this or YouTube does that, because it's a platform that I choose to use. So is there a better alternative? No.
We use it because it's convenient. But I got to say this. The one good thing about this, as bad as it is, at least it gives us the platform to inform people, warn people. So I guess it works both ways. That's how I see YouTube since I started the channel talking about Linux, mainly. Information, sharing my ideas, my successes, my failures, my whatever with people out there about Linux. But now we're talking about privacy. It's just, it's the same thing. YouTube can be a snake. Facebook can be a snake, but if you're letting the people know how the snake works, maybe we can bite back at the snake somehow, someday, if there's an alternative. Me and Tom talked about, I think, we should start a Linux version of Facebook, call it Family Book, and have it financed by, like PBS has these membership drives. Family Book, we don't have any corporate spot, but it's not free. There is no corporate sponsorships. But for us to have this privacy thing going, we guarantee it, we need your help through memberships to be transparent in the beginning. And it may fail, but at least the people now have an option. You can go to Facebook and sell your life.
Well, this is one of the things I was talking about is, that a lot of people I keep Facebook just because to keep connected with the family. There's an open source software that you can install on a simple web server with a one-click and a cPanel to install your own private social network, link it up with your family. Somebody in your family might have the technical skill to put that together.
But how many families are going to bother?
That's the thing.
Very few.
Right. If it's not
and so
easy, right.
There is an open social media network that is very easy to use. It is completely federated. You can have it in multiple instances, or you can use one of the main instances and not even worry about it. And it's just as easy as Facebook. It's not as featureful, but it doesn't have Farmville, so there's none of those stupid invitation things you got to ignore. But for the most part, no, Diaspora.
Okay.
Oh.
Like Mastodon is a Twitter clone.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's more.
What an awful name.
Diaspora.
This sounds like a Godzilla sequel. Mastodon versus Godzilla. I mean, really.
Mastodon is a weird name.
Diaspora is just as bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
No, it's not. It's confusing if you don't know where to go. But if you go to diasp.org, it's just it's an instance that you can sign up for, and it's open source implementation.
That sounds
isn't Telegram. Isn't Telegram just as good? I mean, Telegram's more private than Facebook.
Telegram is a proprietary server, so they have
it's more private.
Everything you say in it. They have a copy,
right?
And it's a plain text copy, not encrypted. So,
well, who's going to go to a private, just your family thing? Because everybody wants to be on the drama sites, don't they? These days,
Diaspora isn't family private or anything. You can just public completely.
See, Diaspora, I think of a condition going to the bathroom. For some reason. Again,
anyway, I want to know. I want to know why on the biddle before the release of 1804 we're off on a tangent on Facebook when we have so much to talk about with the Ubuntus. That's what I want to know.
Well, we've all been running the 1804 releases for at least like 3-4 months now.
Me and Alan covered it already, so that's enough.
So, are you saying
talking about privacy and Linux? I really wish, like the Ubuntu phone didn't do well. I really wish there was a true Linux-based phone that could gain some ground and go out there. Because I mean, like these things, I've said this on past shows. even if you shut it off and you set it down, it's still listening, because you could, if you have it on here, and I mentioned this about my wife, she was having a conversation about a music box for my girlfriend, my granddaughter. 10 minutes later, I said, girlfriend, that would go over good. No, for my granddaughter, and 10 minutes later, up pops an ad on her phone for music boxes, just by her having a conversation about it sitting next to her.
Yeah, I am actually working on an experiment, like a scientifically engineered experiment, to look at that very phenomenon. It's going to be an N of 1, but it should hopefully be good enough to have more credibility than some of the anecdotal, because I think that's what's happening. There's not enough proof, and of course everybody at the top vehemently denies it. So I'm working on that, and I should have the results in a few months.
Ubuntu had a chance with the phone called the Ubuntu Edge. They tried it in 2012, I think. Is that what it was? They tried it, and they had a Kickstarter, or I'm sorry, Indiegogo.
Yep.
And they wanted to raise $30 million to get started. And I was like, people, listen up. And I took flack. Ubuntu's nuts. The idea, it was a state-of-the-art phone at the time. I can't think of all the features now. But I looked at it, I said, great, but 30 million? You guys are nuts. I took, Keith, what do you know? You're a Windows, Linux newbie, blah, blah, blah. Don't you understand this phone is not meant for the masses? But they're asking for a massive $30 million. How can it not be for the masses? I predicted it'll fail, and it did. I didn't want it to fail.
No. $30 million was not even remotely what they needed to get. This was the amount of money that he needed as an investor so that he could justify putting his own money as far as paying for Canonical to do it. Like when people look at the Librem, we want 1.5. Well, what comparison between that and Canonical? And like, well, that was 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, there was no massive manufacturing for OEMs that during phones that you could do. Like there was no Clevo phone or anything. They were having to build their entire infrastructure. They had to build everything. They had to create the basement structure. They had to do all of it themselves. Librem does not have to.
And I don't think those guys ever expected that.
Not them.
They didn't expect that Indiegogo thing to actually raise $30 million. I bet they were very surprised at the.
They raised about half, maybe a little less. Yeah. I thought, you know what, Mark Shuttleworth, that should have been enough.
If you asked them, I bet they were shocked that they got that much money. I don't think they went into it thinking they would ever raise.
I don't know about that. I wasn't shocked as a Windows user that they raised.
So what happens to that money if you've donated and it doesn't go anywhere?
I think it went back to
it just goes back to you.
Yeah.
It depends on the setting of the campaign. Indiegogo offers to let the people keep it, or it goes back to you as the person who does the campaign, and Canonical chose to send it back.
It was disappointing. I mean, as a dual booter, it was disappointing. But if they would have said, "Look, we need to raise 15 million of it," I think they would have had a shot to get started at least.
Trying to get the money. This is the bare bones baseline. Has to be this, because this is not what is needed. This is like a third of what is needed. Canonical.
Did they explain that in the Indiegogo?
Yeah,
site?
They had a very long page about everything.
And he did a keynote about it. He talked about it. There was a whole thing is like 32 million is what we need for them to guarantee that there are people who want this. And this is based on the amount of money the phones cost. So they were like $700 phones, and they were cheap at the time because they were basically the same amount, but they were massively more powerful. But they had to get a certain amount so that they could justify the cost of the manufacturing and other stuff. Like this is not like deal with this amount. This is the required amount.
I was going to say, and here we are now to the point where we don't have the phones. We don't have any of that, but we are on the release of 1804.
Yeah.
So, Rocco,
I was going
to say, so Rocco, how's your overall experience been with I know you've been running the betas.
That's pretty good, Matt. That was pretty good transition back.
Who's actually going to install one of the 1804 releases on their main machine? That's what I want to know.
I have it on my main machine. That's what I've been using.
If it was not a resource hog, I would take a shot. I told Alan, but the fact that it used double, triple, it seems the RAM and that as an Ubuntu Mate, that's why I can't.
Oh, you're talking about the GNOME edition?
Yes, the GNOME edition.
Yes, for if I'm going to use the proper, no, probably not.
No,
I'm using the proper right now and have been for the last couple of weeks. So
I mean, it's good. It's just not
my overall impression is that it's really good. I haven't had I've had certain
stable.
programs crash, but I haven't had Ubuntu itself crash.
No, it's stable. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and I'm the same with Kubuntu. It's I think that's going to be the jewel in the Ubuntu crown. It is an exceptional distro at the moment. And for me, it's the first time that Plasma has really worked and worked well. I don't have a single issue when I run Kubuntu.
Tosh, maybe your issue too. I know you talk about minimum of 4 gigs of RAM. Honestly, I think that's probably a little low in today's world, and it could be a hardware thing that why it's you feel you're using more resources too.
Well, it could be, but we also tout Linux profess it as being great to revive older machines too, and Ubuntu GNOME is not it. Putting that aside, I mean, you're right, Joe. Nowadays, if you're going to buy a new machine, it probably has at least 4 gigs, I would imagine.
Well, I was going to say though, but in today's world, like with the 1804 and the latest distros, I think that they've geared more toward the newer hardware now too. So I don't know that that's necessarily always true either. It should do.
Understand?
It depends on the flavor. LXDE, the Ubuntu flavor. I can put that on a 12-year-old computer, no problem.
Right, and Alan mentioned that too. Look, there's plenty of flavors out there to choose
MX,
from.
I'm sure run fine on.
Dolphin, how old was that laptop you were just holding up?
Yabba dabba doo.
I got this for Ryan's installer problem. So 3-4 weeks, 2 gigs of RAM. This is essentially
2 gigs. Nice.
But the Chromebook though, right?
Yeah.
This isn't. This is a Lenovo.
Oh, really?
Just a little portable netbook
actually,
thing,
if you can believe it, this before I nuked the drive in it ran Windows 10.
What version is that? I think I have that one.
It's a 110S. Yeah, it looks like a 110S. If I had to guess,
it's a one. Actually, it's older. It's a 100S.
So what are you putting on that then?
I needed it because it has a 32-bit UEFI.
Okay.
Oh, those things
you
are
need it because of Ryan. It's all Ryan's fault.
Yeah.
It is Ryan's fault.
Where was Ryan tonight, for crying out loud?
Ryan
still
cost
working on those rap skills.
That money right there.
You knew Dolphin was going to be coming on.
You can charge him, Dolphin. You can charge him for that.
Yeah, with Dolphin, that's what I said. I'm going to fix the MX problem. I'm going to go to bigger monitors, so you cost me money too if it comes. But I'm actually excited about it, so it doesn't.
Yeah, but that's your choice, Joe. You don't have to just.
Yeah, that's your choice.
Just do yourself a.
You were stepping up from a 36-inch monitor to a 42-inch monitor. I was like, what the heck was the problem in the first place? That's
Joe. Just be very careful. Don't ever use a distro with global menus.
Yeah.
Because having a window open in the bottom right and having to go 42 inches up into the top left-hand corner, what a pain in the neck.
Too much work.
In truth, here's part of my plan for. Well, part of my plan for that monitor is even in this one here, the 34. I never open it full on a regular basis. I usually divide it up, and that's what I want because it'll be like 4 22-inch screens. Or my other plan is, even this monitor will do it, is if I want to run for my accounting, my Windows computer, which I've got a little cube that I built, I can run 2 different computers on that one monitor. So if I want to put a 22-inch window up here with my accounting and I want to open up for where I'm pulling it, for my online store, I can open up and still have room for 2 more windows. So it's like having 4 monitors. So I will never, I get what you're saying, but I will never open it up full screen. I don't even open this full screen except for when I'm gaming.
Yeah, so you could use the Ubuntu Mate tiling corners and just be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be
or
like
install Xmonad.
Yeah.
You'd be like Tony Stark if you had
It would look kind of like NASA.
Iron Man, yeah. Iron Man OS. There we go.
Well, and I'm only using 2 monitors right now on here. I used to use 3. The third one's over here, but that's the one that the Windows computer is that I do my accounting on. Which actually I kind of miss it, but I think with the 43, I think that's going to be. It's going to be big, but I think it's like anything else. You get used to it. When I got my first 25.5, which is behind me over here.
Did your monitor thing? Did you try Ubuntu, the latest Ubuntu beta? Did it?
I did not try the latest. I think I did try one of the distros. I don't remember which one it was, and it was a fairly recent one, but I don't remember if it was 1604 or later, and it still kind of did the same thing.
I tried the 1804 when it came out, the beta, and it still did it.
So, yeah, XFCE based distros don't like this hardware.
Yeah, the beta didn't have this new XFCE thing then. That's only literally just come out on about 28th of Feb, I think. or 28th of March.
Yeah, it was the 28th of March, and the beta came out like mid-March.
Or it was maybe it was the alpha I tried.
Yeah, well, the main thing is like it's also in the PPAs only for like if you're going to use the regular Ubuntu, and if you're going to use the Ubuntu like for now, you should use the daily, and that's the only way to get it right now. So if you want to test that, you got to use the daily. But here's like the Simon was here earlier, and he had a proposal that he convinced, well, not convinced, but he's suggesting, and a lot of people have agreed, that the idea of switching from an alpha beta structure to a monthly ISO structure of the releases prior to the main release. And I was a question I just thought of that I'm curious what your opinions are, because there's this situation right now. Ubuntu 18.04 is coming out very soon. Almost no one here cares that much because we've talked about it every week for the entire time since the alphas came out.
Because we're rolling along with it.
Right, because there's new things to talk about all the time. But I think this happens every single, like, maybe not every 6 months, but probably every 6 months, where you like there's a huge amount of attention for like the first couple weeks or so, and then slowly it just starts to fade away until it finally gets to release, and people kind of don't care because they already know most of what they've and then like
we're different because we've been on the development release, and when 18.04 comes out. 2 or 3 weeks after that, 18.10 development release is going to be out. We're all going to jump on that, and we're going to be on the next one. So,
I mean, my point
we're not the normal crowd here.
If they switch, I know that, but I'm saying like the idea that we haven't really talked about it this week, and mainly because I think it's because it's just like
we've been talking about it all along.
Right. It's just a lot of the same thing because we've already talked about most of the stuff that's coming. And I can only advertise how much I've worked on Kubuntu so much before. No, I can continue. Anyway.
Yeah, you can continue.
I just think it's an interesting idea because once that happens, if that happens, it's possible that because there won't be an alpha and there won't be a beta. It could be like a lot of people, the same people more people would be working on like paying attention to it rather than focusing on this new version of this beta. So the people who are paying attention are more interested in the actual inner workings and stuff, and the people who just like go onto YouTube and like do first looks of a beta, which is really what's the point of that? But it's just interesting because it's like they wouldn't be as bored by it because everything would be new when they actually release.
So what you're saying is there would be no beta milestone, so it wouldn't highlight it as much, and you would just get a monthly image.
Yeah, it'd be more or less like what some of the rolling distros do as far as
they just release a snapshot monthly.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's a monthly snapshot and call it good and go on.
But people will still be concentrating. People will still be concentrating on those last 3 month snapshots.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be as much like
the name beta wouldn't be out there. Yeah,
there wouldn't be appeal to make.
Everyone's still going to know what's going on with it, though, aren't they? I mean, you download the snapshot and you upload it to YouTube. I do a video. Everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, but I think Michael's talking about, Colin, about the saturation of all of the information because, me and you and all of us here are probably going to try it out. But he's talking about the whole mass of people constantly hearing about, like, say, for example, Mate 1.20 is coming out. So you've probably heard all of the features by now, even though it's just going to be coming out in 18.04.
And even though it's only been ever used in Ubuntu in 18.04.
Yeah.
But you already know, and Solus has it, and then other things already have it. You might have already tried it, and it's not as new, it's not as fresh. But because there's so many people talking about it and so much noise about it, this could limit the amount of noise. And
the other thing, too, that Alan Pope had put out, which I don't think that Toss would mind me mentioning because I know we want him to watch the whole interview. I think it was very good.
That's okay.
And most people would figure this out, or most of us would. He said you're going to get a really nice, usable start, when it comes out system. He said, but the reality of it is not everything is going to be in it right out of the gate. He said it's going to come as time passes, you'll get all the features that you really want to have in there. But you're going to have hopefully what would be the initial finished polished. I don't know if polished is what they exactly said, but you'd have the initial finished system that should at least be what people would first see as their impression, and and like it or whatever. But you're still not going to have a true sense of what the system's going to be, because not everything's going to be in it. It'll take a few more months.
Well, that's a hazard of having a date. You know what I mean? Like you try to hit the date that you're in, so you kind of have to put out what the best product you can for that time, and then add the features as you go along.
Right,
yeah, and that's why the LTS
bugs. It was added features, so it's not that you're going to release it and we're going to look for bugs. Which that's still going to probably happen too. It's the benefit features or the nicer.
Right. Yeah. The point releases are going to have them.
Yeah. The point releases are where. The 1804.1 release is the real release. That's when the 1604 crowd gets the option to update.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a situation of that date issue of being good and bad. It's a double-edged, because like people know when it's coming, people can anticipate it and stuff like that, and they can plan for it, which is a good thing. And then also the developers have to kind of meet that window regardless. So they're like, this either way, good or bad.
What if Nick Smith has no date? They release when ready. I kind of like their philosophy.
Yeah, but they also don't really have to worry about it, because they're not doing most of the work.
Yeah.
Keegan says your office looks like a secret lair. It's like the Bat Cave.
I was thinking he was like inside of a lava lamp. That was awesome.
Lava lamp, yeah.
I thought he was at the club.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like a scene out of the Matrix.
Saturday Night Live, yeah.
That was awesome.
But anyway, it's just a situation where, like, no matter what, if you the distros who do like the elementary style, it's done when it's ready, or the Debian, it's done when it's ready. That's a company can't rely on that. Right. So you can guarantee they will not pick it, because they have no absolutely no ability to know when it's coming. And even Fedora, they say a date and then they don't meet it.
They never
that's unless the previous version isn't already stable enough. Like if your previous version is stable, you don't need it tomorrow. You know what I mean? You don't need a specific date.
Right.
Yeah. That's fine. That's perfectly fine for servers, but workstation people would prefer companies would prefer to release a workstation that they know that they have. They know when it's going to happen, and they don't have to worry about.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is most companies don't just jump onto the new one anyway. They wait. Like, geez, this company I worked for just a year, 2 years ago, they had just switched from XP to 7.
Yep, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly the same thing. We went from XP to 8.1 just last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a big
company.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal for companies to not have a date, though.
No, absolutely not.
That's because, I mean, Windows is not a good example, because people don't switch for a decade, and it's because they did switch and it was atrocious and they went back. So like this is a difference of, this is a slight, well, in this case it's not a slight iterative thing, but most of the time it is. So when people switch from like their servers, it's not that big a deal to go from Debian Jessie to Debian Stretch or CentOS 6 to 7 or whatever. It's not that much of a difference. It doesn't hurt in that way.
No, I'm just saying that I don't think the concern is over a time date, because there's no rush to switch.
It's not that they want the ability to know, not that they will do it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but whether it comes out on April the 1st or May the 1st is neither here nor there. As long as they know it's going to be coming out that year or that quarter, then they can deal with that.
That's different than Debian. Debian doesn't even give you a general timeline of when that thing's coming out.
Yeah, most of them don't. Most of them say, like, the only reason we know Elementary is getting one or when is getting one is because they're forced to be based on roughly around the time that Ubuntu has.
Yeah, same way with Mint.
I know.
I never really paid much attention to dates. I mean, like, I know that most of the Ubuntus are coming out, April 26th. That's what Alan said. But you know what? If there wasn't a date, as a dual booter, I wouldn't really freak out. As long as they say sometime, like Mint is like sometime in June or May. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm cool with it, because what I have now is stable. I don't have issues. So it isn't like, oh, what I have now stinks. I've tried 2 others. I need it now, and I don't need it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not.
I'm not saying it's the best way to do it. I'm just saying that there's a pro and a con. You know, like regardless of which way you go, there's both issues. Yeah. So I think that it's kind of interesting that Canonical has always done a specific date, and
what happens to the code names? I mean, if they do a monthly snapshot.
Do what?
What happens to their code names if they start doing monthly snapshots?
They run out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because the code name there's no code name for betas.
Those are just major release names.
Okay.
This will be a dev channel product, not a.
This is only for like just the devs.
So they're still only going to have there'll be 2 main releases and then a bunch of snapshots in between.
Well, it could be Bionic Beaver Junior, Senior,
small beaver, big beaver, medium beaver,
Big Billy Bob, Big Bionic Beaver, Little Junior. Yeah.
Anyway, I know we're coming up on I know we're coming up on pumpkin time, but
the code names are developer code names and are relevant to their marketing. You'll never see their marketing use the code names because that has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So when people mock their code names, they're like, like the Bionic Beaver is like, it's dumb. Like all code names are dumb because they're just for people to reference it in a verbal conversation thing. Oh, Windows used to have like code names like Longhorn.
Yeah, Longhorn.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought of Steakhouse. I thought it was cool.
It never came to fruition, right? Because it was ridiculous. It never happened.
Yeah, like a logo on the rock.
I mean,
so Michael, what do you think? What I was going to say is before we close out here, nobody's really referenced about the Ubuntu and Microsoft distro that's coming. I'd be curious if we could spend a couple minutes talking about that on some fast opinions here.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay, so it's 12:31, and it's a little late.
So that's this week's topic.
So it shows it's a good step.
Sam's going on.
It's a good step.
Broncos like, oh, not now, man.
No, that'll be a next week topic or something else. The show goes till 12:30, and that's the way it goes. So.
Yeah, and that'll only be if Michael turns up at 10:31 next week.
If you want a longer show, then you should probably
I should
start,
do like
start
the
a show.
After show or something. Yeah. Welcome to the After Biddle show with Tom.
There you go.
Hour stream.
After Biddle. Yeah, right.
Well, I'm glad I could contribute.
All right. So last words, Zeb.
Just remember that you do have a choice with the data that you give over. So use that choice wisely.
To watch.
There you go.
You have a choice.
Colin, last word.
Well, I'll say Ubuntu GNOME is integrating extensions very, very well at the moment.
I agree. Toss.
Thumbs up for humanity.
Dolphin.
Come translate our new unified installer, forum.mxlinux.org.
Nice. Contribute. Everybody wants to always know how they can contribute. That's how they can contribute.
We lost our Russian one. I need a new Russian translator.
Did you say Russian, comrade? Russian.
Lamer.
Elementary OS.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
We're chicken when you need them. Chicken.
Barb.
I'm looking forward to the official release of Ubuntu Mate 1804.
Me too.
Nice.
Joe?
Be sure to tune in next week for the riveting conversation on Azure Linux OS.
Yeah, there you go. Derek?
It's going to be a busy week with all the 1804 releases.
Is it this week?
Is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thursday.
3 days.
Yeah.
Matt?
Just remember, you have a choice of whether or not you actually decide to be the product or not. And by the way, textdigital.com/Amazon.
No, dark one. / dark one. Michael.
Textdigital.com.
Did something bite you under the table?
Sounds like Frankie Valley or something.
Oh
my gosh.
What a talent.
Where was this all biddle? Where was this? Was it for the last 2 hours?
Well, I can't do verses all the time. Okay.
Well, you could.
Sometimes they fit and sometimes they don't. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Next time.
Sure.
Tom.
Just be wise and careful how you live in this world. The companies don't have your best interest in mind.
Exactly.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, last word for me is check out Destination Linux episode 67. 7. Yeah, we're up to 67.
67.
But there'll be an announcement Monday about it, so check it out.
So check out the announcement about the announcements.
Check out the announcement about the episode Monday. Yeah. All right, everybody have a great night.
All right, peace, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See ya.